The Seattle Seahawks are going to come into Arrowhead this weekend hungry, determined, fighting for their playoff lives, as these old AFC West division rivals will have an exciting game this weekend, and we are going to preview all of that, as well as we're going to discuss Mckinnion and Isaiah Pacheco and which one should get more carries coming out of the backfield. But before we dive into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Chiefs Kingdom, I do not know how you're feeling about this game. I know in the last couple of weeks we've been nervous with the Kansas City Chiefs struggle against lower tier teams, and now that we're taking on the Seattle Seahawks, like I mentioned in my intro, that are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. They're going to do anything and everything to win this game. And I find this game to be very exciting because Kansas City, whether you like to believe it or not, and it may not be true, but it's something I sense, they play to the level of their opponents. So they know Seattle's playing for that playoff hopes, and Kansas City, they're playing for that #1 seed. So Christmas Eve, hopefully the Kansas City Chiefs wrap us an early Christmas gift going into Sunday. This is going to be a fun game to discuss about, and what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the offense, we're going to talk about the defense, we're going to talk about special teams, and I'm going to get you ready for everything in this game so you will not miss out on a thing. But first off, we're going to start with one question that's been on my mind throughout this week, and we're going to start with the offense. And before we get fully dived into the offense, we're going to talk about these running backs. And it's crazy how things take a turn. As I mentioned in a prior video, who would have thought going into December that the Kansas City strength would be in the running game? They may not focus on it, but it's definitely a strength. And now I will lead a question, and I want to discuss it in the comments below. Who should get more carries going into this playoff stretch? Should it be Isaiah Pacheco or should it be Mckinnion? Let alone, they both should be heavily involved in this. And what I am going to start this out by saying is Isaiah Pacheco still needs to be your RB1. I know we will debate and we will discuss about it, but he needs to be your bull cow carrying the rock at least 20 times in a game, and then you get Mckinnion involved. And now, I understand. How can you rotate carries with someone who's going to get the ball 20 times a game, and then Mckinnion, who, one, he is a great running back. We've seen how he runs in between the tackles. They both present a different style, and Mckinnion should run the ball. It's what he's good at. But what he is exceptionally well at is in the receiving game, and I am not mad that Kansas City gets him involved frequently and often. He's been getting between 7 to 10 catches the last few weeks. Keep it going. Averaging 2 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Keep it going. And like I mentioned against the Texans, get this running game going. It's something that the Seattle Seahawks, they're average at best. But what they excel in their defense is they know how to create turnovers, and their secondary is very stingy and lock up with the rookie Woolen, and they got Quandre Diggs at the safety. Those boys play very well, and it's something that, hey, if Mahomes tends to struggle, which I'm not going to say he will because he tends to find his areas where he can succeed, but let's say the passing game struggle, lean on the run, because as we saw in the Houston Texan game, you lean on the run. They didn't do it early, but they did it later and often. It opens up the pass game, and that's just all I beg for in the future, because then you will find a rhythm in this offense. And also I wanted to mention too, a Mahomes stat that he could check off his list as well is there's only 2 teams in the NFL he hasn't beaten, and I really hope I'm getting this right now. It's the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings. And unfortunately against the Vikings, when we played them, he was hurt and he couldn't play that game, but Matt Moore excelled and got us the W. That Seahawks game, it was a thriller. It was in December. Him and Russell Wilson, they were going back and forth. Mahomes made amazing throws. That one that will live in our heads forever, that sidearm to Charkandrick West. He ended up losing that game. Let's see if he can knock it down and only have one team on his list that he's never beaten besides the Kansas City Chiefs. And I hope that never happens, because he's going to retire a Kansas City Chief. Now, I got distracted. Let's slide back to the running game. Like I mentioned, I don't think it really needs to be up for debate or question, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of opinions that differ. But again, if they do, or if you want to stand strong for your boy Isaiah Pacheco, the comments are open to discuss. Again, Mckinnion does deserve a role, and I understand people started going heavily for Mckinnion now because of a slight offensive struggle where Isaiah Pacheco fumbled in the Texans game. Again, he should have better ball security. He does have 4 fumbles on the year, which raises a lot of eyebrows, and it raised Andy Reid's eyebrow to say, hey, let's take him out, which at that timing kind of pissed me off a little bit. But when you got a backup running back like Jerick McKinnon, he will give you that spark, and that's what he did, and it will basically help your offense in the future. But the reason it pissed me off was because Andy Reid does not tend to do that with young guys. It's like, if you fumble, let's get you back out there. Let's get your confidence going again. And that just wasn't the thing. Now, yeah, he did do it earlier in the year when he fumbled and they threw him back in. Maybe this was like, okay, like that didn't work. Let's give you something to like sit down, relax, and like think about it and not do it again. But the reason it got me mad too, and I know you're in live moment in the game, is just like, yeah, you got to have ball security, but at the same time, your right tackle shouldn't be where your center is in the middle of the field and basically getting bulldozed all the way into Pacheco's lap. And like I mentioned, the hole was there. And Pacheco saw it, and then Wiley ended up closing that gap. So, again, ball security is huge, but at the end of the day, I don't really want to blame it on Pacheco. Maybe I'm being biased because I'm a huge fan and I want to see him take over, but it's just something you learn from. With Jerick McKinnon, he's doing it again, where he came in last year in December and showed out. And this year, he is balling out like crazy. And it's going to be very, very interesting and something we shouldn't concern ourselves with until he is designated off the injury is what happens when Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes back. Because that's going to be Chiefs Kingdom #1 concern, because we got an amazing thing going right now with Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon. And I know Chiefs Kingdom doesn't want to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire eat those carries. And quite frankly, I'm with you. Now, the thing that changes it a little bit, and we're going to find out this week too, because Mecole Hardman should be coming back and Kadarius Toney snaps should be going up. That red zone offense. Let's see how that goes, and let's see if it basically takes a trend upwards. Mecole Hardman, most of his touchdowns came in the red zone. He is a huge missing piece. But another missing piece we're missing in the red zone may surprise a lot of people is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Majority of his touchdowns, actually, I think all of his touchdowns came in the red zone. And when you took 2 of our main contributors out, you see how it affected that red zone production. Again, I don't know if that means you just put him in red zone territory, but I think if you just focus on Jerick McKinnon in the red zone, I think Jerick McKinnon can be easily your red zone back. And then when you get into the 10 and then the 5, let Isaiah Pacheco be that grown man and power through. I don't know. I'm still sliding with my question, Isaiah Pacheco #1, and then Jerick McKinnon 1A or 1B, whatever it may be, in different facets. Isaiah Pacheco, give him 18 to 20 carries, and then Jerick McKinnon, give him 6 to 9 catches a game. I don't think that's too crazy to basically replicate every game and get a rhythm, and then it creates production in the receiving core. Now let's focus on that, on where Kansas City can basically go after the Seattle Seahawks, besides just the run game. Because I think the run game can have a great game. That is if Andy Reid and team focuses on it. But let's say they don't. You got one of the best tight ends. Actually, you got the best tight end in the league going against a secondary that is good but struggles against the tight ends. That means Travis Kelce can be in for a big day if the Kansas City Chiefs just focus on passing the ball. And hey, he hasn't had a touchdown in now 4 weeks, so you might as well say, let's get him one. Let's get him back in rhythm. And let's get things going too, right when we push for the playoffs. But also too, I don't know if Juju will have a big game because those outside corners, they do well. But I want to see Juju be very productive in this game. Actually, he has been. You saw when he came back from injury the first game, Cincinnati, it was quiet. And then now you see things start ramping up. You see him starting to look like a true #1 receiver. The yards may not be crazy, but last week, he had 8 catches for 80 yards. The receptions are there. You could tell the repertoire and basically the chemistry, there we go. See, it was going to click in. With Patrick Mahomes is there. And as this season progresses and as you make that Super Bowl run, that is something so vital. And I just want to see, because he hasn't had one in a few years, I want to see Juju clips that 1,000 yards. It's a big goal, definitely for him, because he had a down year and then injuries plagued him after he had an amazing, rookie year or sophomore year. I want to see Juju do great, and I want to see him back with his team, and I hope he signs a long-term deal because he is that wide receiver number one. And now you guys all hear me when it comes to this. I'm excited to see Kadarius Toney's role increase. Again, injuries are a concern, but at the end of the day, if he can play and if he's looking good, get him on the field and get the best out of him. We saw what he can do. He is a beast. But the number one guy I'm looking out for, and I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy. I think it's actually going to be kind of like a role of what Kadarius Toney, what we saw last week. Mecole Hardman. Everyone took you for granted. We missed you. And honestly, everyone is now already asking for him to re-sign with this team. Crazy what 4 weeks does. Everyone was like, let him walk in free agency. We don't need him. Like, he basically doesn't do anything for this team. When one, he produced this year, he was getting touchdowns, and he was doing his thing. And now you look, it's like, oh, he was very pivotal in this offense. We need him for this stretch. That speed is different. Yes, it is. Never take advantage or never basically, damn, see, I'm struggling. I try to look for words and I just mess up. But just never take for granted on what you have. And I think Mecole Hardman, I think he does deserve a role on this team going into the playoffs and going into the future. And I think it's going to be great to see. And also, too, again, we're going to keep preaching it. Please, Sky Moore, please. Again, last week he did it again. I mean, he had, 2 reverses this week. So that might be positive. But the first one, again, another 9 to 10 yard gain. When the kid has the ball in his hand on the offense, he looks very, very good. Now, the second one, it only gained 1 or 2 yards. But, of course, teams are going to start scheming that correctly when they're like, well, if they're just going to give it to him on reverses, of course, let's get him. But that might change now, too, because that's Mecole's thing to do. So once Mecole gets fully healthy and ready to go, what is Sky Moore's role in this? Can we throw him more in the slot? Can we just throw the ball to him? Can we just have fun? Give me more of Sky Moore. I am dying to see it. We are in December now. We haven't seen much of him. I want to see what he can do in this offense. Please. But also, the number one question that Chiefs Kingdom is going to be watching for. Not even question. I don't know why I said it like that. But the number one thing the Chiefs Kingdom is going to be watching for is this offensive line. Hold up against the defense. Give Mahomes time. We saw it last week. When you give him time, the boy be precise and he be doing his thing and he be having fun on the football field. He did get hit a lot last week still. And hey, what's surprising, the Pro Bowl votings did come out. Orlando Brown, he's a Pro Bowl left tackle. Actually, half of the Chiefs line is Pro Bowlers. Trey Smith should have been. That's kind of a disgrace. You got to let the boy do his thing. He's been going off as of late. I know he struggled coming in early, but Trey Smith definitely deserves to be a Pro Bowl guard. And this line, if they can hold up down this playoff stretch, and in this game too, again, I don't know. This game just has a making for me where it just feels like I think both teams can score 30 points in this game. It's going to be one of those thrillers. Now, I don't want it to be, and we're going to talk about the defense here shortly, but it just feels like that. It feels like Seattle's fighting for everything, and Kansas City still knows what they're fighting for. They know they've been struggling a few weeks, and they kind of want to get that taste out of their mouth too, to where, hey, let's excel. Let's do something good. That's why I feel like this game has the makings to be something very exciting and still stressful, because it's the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's what we're going to get. But just focus on the run game. If the line can hold up, we're going to have a very fun offensive performance, I feel like. Defense. I don't even know where to begin. So we got to find a way to start somewhere, and it's basically you got to stop the Seattle Seahawks because you really haven't stopped no one. Like, we are giving yards for days, and we are keeping teams in games, whether it be giving up the yards, having them score touchdowns, penalties on both sides of the ball. That should decrease a lot in this game just because we don't have a ref who hates us in this game. I do not see the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs getting 10-plus penalties in this game. If it does, that's a trend that Coach Reed needs to correct, but I don't know who the ref is, but it's definitely not the one they had last week, so that's a positive. But going back to this defense, let's focus on the line to start off with, and we'll break it down from there. Actually, you know what? I don't even want to do that. I want to focus on the Seattle Seahawks because it's crazy how things turn. Because when you came into this season and you're thinking coming into December, you're thinking, oh, chalk this up as a W. Geno Smith, who is he? They don't got no firepower. Seattle Seahawks, they're going to be the worst team in the league. Kansas City has nothing to worry about. Scratch that. This team is fighting for their playoff lives. Geno Smith has been an excellent quarterback this year. Maybe not like top tier, top level, but exceeded our expectations like nonetheless. You can call him a game manager, but he is one of the best, and it's something you wouldn't have called him before too. Now, the running game with the rookie Kenneth Walker, he hasn't practiced for the last 2 days, but I anticipate him to still play because Seattle has everything on the line. And if he does, he is going to be a bowling ball, and he's going to be something so difficult for the Kansas City Chiefs that they need to zone in and make sure he doesn't take over the game. Because if Seattle decides just run it and make sure Patrick Mahomes isn't on the field, and that's another thing, this is going to be a frigid game. They say that it's going to feel like -11. That's why I say Kansas City needs to run the ball. And if Seattle's Ken Walker is healthy, they're going to run the ball, and someone's going to try to control this game. Do not let Seattle do that whatsoever. And they will be missing the lights of a Tyler Lockett because he has a broken hand. But they got a weapon in DK Metcalf, who the Kansas City Chiefs have struggled to stop wide receivers this year. Yes, their secondary, they play to a bend but don't break, but basically, they've been bending a lot. They've been giving up a lot of yards, and teams have been scoring touchdowns on them. And it's something I need to see change like quickly. We're getting into the playoffs. Spags, scheme something up. And then Noah Fant too. Kansas City, like they struggle with wide receivers, they struggle with giving up yards to tight ends too. Find a way to stop them. Last week, L'Jarius Sneed gave up a touchdown to a third-string tight end. Correct it. We need positivity moving forward. And that's why I think this is a beautiful game. Because this is not a give-me game. This is a team fighting for everything. And if you come out and you show out and you beat this team by the projected double digits that the sportsbooks think you are, which I don't know how, I don't know why, but if you win by 10 plus, you have good momentum and you have Chiefs Kingdom fully riding along with you. And the Seahawks are no joke, and you should not sleep on them because I know this is not going to be an easy game. Shit, the Texans weren't, and the Broncos weren't. So this should be a very fun one. Now we're going to jump and focus on the defense. It's going to be the defensive line. And pressures, boy, we can't do anything with 4. So, Spags, you got to dial up blitzes. And if not, find a way to execute with just 4 pass rushers. This is getting really, pathetic. Chris Jones had 1 pressure, but I'm not going to slight him whatsoever because he got sick late in the week, and that's another thing we got to focus on too. The illness is running through the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, I want to kind of talk about something again. I'm getting off topic, but it's what happens. Illness, what is that nowadays? Is that COVID? Let me know because I really was thinking no one has missed a game because of COVID this year. Is that not a thing no more? We just call it illness? Is it just going to show up as illness on the injury report? When I saw that, I'm like, are we sure this is not COVID moving off? But, hey, I know that COVID was yesterday, even though it's crazy in today's fall, winter season. But I just thought it was interesting that illness was basically all around the locker room, but not COVID. Kind of raised an eyebrow a little bit. But going back to it, not going to slight Chris Jones whatsoever, but we had boys out there who seem to be healthy, need to do their thing, and they just didn't with 4. And if they don't with 4, that's when Spags, scheme up blitzes. Make it to where your team can succeed. I have preached that all year long. If you're not succeeding, find a way to succeed. Just don't get your ass kicked for 4 quarters because at the end of the day, a W can turn into an L real quickly. That's why I need to see the lights of a George Karlaftis, Frank Clark, Carlos Dunlap. They have potential. They have huge talent. They showed it at the end of the game that the defense can win games. Let's see them win 4 quarters. We haven't seen that this year, I feel like. Maybe in the San Fran game, I'm not quite sure. I'd have to go relook at that game, but the defense hasn't put up a solid, consistent game throughout the year. I'm not sliding them or calling them out. Maybe I am calling them out because it's time to do that, but it's because I know the talent is there. I know the potential is there. We got names all around. So show out, please. And we only had 1 sack last week against a team that's 1-11-1. Again, I know you shouldn't judge a team by your record, but when they have 2 quarterbacks, it tells you they do not do anything really good that they like. Get after them, boys, and make Geno feel uncomfortable. Because if you make a game manager feel uncomfortable, guess what? He ain't a game manager no more. So go after him and execute and have fun. And now we're going to focus on linebackers and secondary. And Nick Bolton, come angry. Show him why you are one of the best linebackers. he was a Pro Bowl snub, and he has been playing really, really good. A lot of people may say inconsistent. Yeah, give it for what it's worth, but he is still one of the best linebackers in this league. I would say top 5. If you want to say top 10, let it be, but he is definitely one of the top names you need to mention. Show him why you're a Pro Bowler. Willie Gay, he's been playing good too. The defense last week kind of was but maybe with top opponent here in Seattle, they come out and show out. And then secondary. Can we get an interception? Come on. Like, I want to see a turnover. I want to see you guys ball out. I want to see DK not do anything. Like, even if it's 50 yards. Yeah, it's yards you're giving up, but at the end of the day, that is a huge improvement. That is going to be him and Noah Fant that's going to control that offense in the pass game. Shut it down and make Seattle fight to win this game. And it's something we haven't really seen this year. I'm counting on the boys of Juan Thornhill, Justin Reed. There is potential. There is talent. I have said this so many times on this defensive clip right here. Show out. Trent McDuffie, do your thing. L'Jarius Sneed, Joshua Williams. Young crew, but they can get it done, and this would be a huge stepping piece. There we go, a huge stepping piece to where, hey, we're actually trending in the right direction. That's all you got to do. You just need to build off of one game, and then the defense can get clicking and get going. Again, we have talked all year. There hasn't been a really good stretch or good consistent stretch that the defense has excelled this year. We are used to seeing it every year in Spag schemes. Maybe this is the time to do it. End of December, January, Super Bowl. Let's have fun and let's get it going. I expect big things from this defense, and hopefully, maybe nothing huge, but maybe they can show a stride going against the Seahawks this weekend. And who would have thought it? Going into a game, a pivotal game in December, that one of my favorite topics to be discussing, actually one of my favorite phases to be discussing on this team is special teams. Because when you think all eyes aren't on you, guess what? Now they are, because special teams has been the lead topic of the conversation this week, and who would have thought special teams would have drama like this? But they do. You all heard about the place holding. You all seen Harrison Butker's missed kicks. You've all seen Tommy Townsend basically defending his name. And now Dave Toub comes out and says, "What? I don't need to listen to what did he say? I don't need to hear what Dustin Colquitt is saying." What? Who do you need to hear it from? Because at the end of the day, again, yes, I know the outside noise bothers a lot, and I know you don't want to take criticism and you listen to in-house. I completely get that. But at the end of the day, when something isn't working, it's time to adjust. Whether it be placeholding, whether it be Harrison Butker missing a kick, Dustin Colquitt was pointing something out that there is something that isn't going on. Shit, they actually even blame Winchester to say the way he snaps the ball isn't correct, like how the spiral of the ball. We are going that far in special teams. So you best believe Chiefs Kingdom has their eye on every field goal, every extra point, every snap, every ball placement. They're going to want them to zoom in and see where those stripes are facing. We're going to even be focusing on the kickoffs, punts. Yes, that's how big special teams has come. But Dave Toub, you can't just be so naive and just in your own zone to say special teams, there's nothing wrong with it. You are one of the best, used to be special teams coaches. Come on, it's time to adjust, because honestly, this has been a very underwhelming year. And you can say that yourself. Special teams, whether you want to say it's young guys, new guys, whatsoever, what isn't really that new is that core between the long snapper, the punter, and the kicker. And if there's something going wrong there might need to be an adjustment, or you might need to focus on that phase of the game a little more. Because the last thing you want is special teams to hurt this team. Again, they left 4 points on the board against the Texans. That just can't keep happening. Kansas City somehow, some way, has found a way to overcome missed special team SQs and then also turnover differentials. I do not know if that will succeed in the playoffs. It's very highly unlikely, and it's something they need to execute better at. So, Dave Toub, I didn't really like the comments, but at the end of the day, if they improve and they excel, it's something good to look forward. And that's why with everyone having their eyes on special teams, I feel like special teams will do good. I don't feel like Bucker will miss any kicks, and I feel like it'll be a quiet day. And when it's a quiet day, that means it's a good day for the special teams. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I am going to sign out. You let me know what are your main things you're looking for in this Saturday game, Christmas Eve game against old AFC West rivals with the Seattle Seahawks. It should be fun. It should be enticing. And oh yeah, Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnion, who should get more carries? With that, y'all take care. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me that big thumbs up if you like this video. I'm checking out.